Hi, gorgeous humans. I'm just going to read you the preface of this Aghora #1 book. It's the first of a series of three, and it's really profound, and I'm just getting a lot out of it. And the preface talks about Tantra as a psychospiritual practice, as in psychological. It's pretty long and it's pretty lofty, so I would just say listen and just take in what you can, whatever resonates. And I mean, I've already read it twice, and a lot of it goes over my head, so it doesn't hurt to reread it or re-listen. And pardon me as I butcher all of the Indian words. I'll do my best. I might butcher some of the English words too. Okay. Tantra is the science of personality, just as Ayurveda was promulgated by ancient sages of India as a truly holistic way to maintain the physical body, and just as Ashtanga Yoga is meant to optimize one's spiritual nature, Tantra is a mental science, a meta-psychology, a method for exploring the mind and developing the range of one's perceptions. It is said that the state of undifferentiated unity is the only absolute reality, and that of the cosmos possesses only and that the cosmos possesses only a relative reality because it is not permanent and unchanging. The universe possesses all possible qualities and attributes, and each being with the universe possesses a limited number of qualities and attributes. Personality is the self-identification of the ego with a set of attributes. All beings possess egos, and therefore all beings have personalities. The cosmos herself possesses the ultimate personality, the supreme expression of the totality of manifested existence, the Adi Shakti or Adya. To state that humans, animals, trees, and flowers possess their own individualities and idiosyncrasies is less apt to induce controversy than to assert that even beings which are disembodied or which are embodied but are less individualized than we also possess personality. The issue of disease is a good example. Diseases are beings with parasitical intentions. Some have collective bodies, like worms, bacteria, or viruses, just as bees and ants show signs of a collective consciousness. Other diseases, bereft of their own bodies, arise within organ systems of some animal or plant due to metabolic malfunctions. When the intruding personality differs significantly in sophistication of organization from its host, physical disease is likely, for then the attacker's ego will be insufficiently developed to assume control of all essential physiological functions. Conversely, when the spirit of a dead human enters the body of a living human, it will feel right at home, and the disease will display predominantly mental symptoms such as altered values and habit patterns. Whatever the intruder, the cure is the expelling of the alien and the return of the normal personality. An individual's immunity exists on the physical level in white blood cells and in antibodies, and on the mental level in the degree of personality integration. The cause of immunity is the ego's power of self-identifying with the body and mind. The word ego is used here not in a Freudian sense, but as an indicator for the force of individual identity in the organism. The stronger the self-identification, the greater the immunity to attack from another personality which might usurp some area of the ego's domination. Every cell is ceaselessly remembered by the ego as being part of its organism. When the organism dies, the cells are free, in the absence of the ego's grip, to go their separate ways. If a cell rebels against the ego's domination and seeks to proliferate itself into a new personality, the result is a cancer. Be the predator external or internal, disease is its onslaught on one's personality. According to Tantra, everyone is ill who is doomed Everyone is ill who is doomed to live with a limited personality. Only those who go beyond time, space, and causation to become immortal can be said to be truly in harmony with the cosmos, and therefore truly healthy, since health is derived from both internal balance and from harmony with the environment. Hence, one significant area of tantric research has always been methods for prolonging one's life. In one sense, the added years are significant mainly because they indicate the degree of successful achievement of the rituals. Ayurveda is also concerned with longevity, but its approach to strengthen the individual's innate personality. Its approach is to strengthen the individual's innate personality. Yoga, recognizing the essential impermanence of the human personality, seeks to efface it entirely to permit one's return directly to the unlimited absolute. Tantra aims to replace the limited personality with an unlimited permanent one. An individual may fail to become eternal, but may, in the course of tantric practice, accumulate sufficient energy, shakti, to obtain some extraordinary power called a siddhi. Wisely used, siddhis can accelerate one's spiritual evolution. Commercialized, siddhis bind one down more firmly to the wheel of cause and effect. One simple sort of siddhi involves the collection of some particular herb at the astrologically appropriate moment with the appropriate ritual. After further preparation, such plants can bestow superphysical powers on their users. The plant species selected is one known to have an affinity for the sort of power desired. The ritual draws that power into the plant at the moment when it is available in the cosmos to be tapped. The herb's own personality is then overshadowed by the personality of the force drawn into it. Metals and gems are also used in tantric alchemy. Indian alchemists, like their Western counterparts, searched for the philosopher's stone, the way to turn base metal into gold, while exoterically this base metal referred to as iron, bronze, brass, and copper. The esoteric reference was to the transmutation of the base metal of the individual's limited consciousness into the gold of enlightenment, a state of unlimited consciousness. An alternative meaning suggests that the transmutation of the base metal of the body into gold of immortality via the touchstone of Amrita, the elixir of life. It is said that the herbal-based preparations can prolong one's life for 400 to 500 years, but that through the use of mercury there is no end to how long one can live. Mercury is regarded as the ultimate metal because it is the sole element which can be brought to life. Repeated herbal applications and treatments with the fire bring the mercury to life. It is then treated like a child. Its appetite is awakened and it is fed. At an appropriate point, it is sacrificed. The personality thus created is thereupon liberated to display its attributes, and with its assistance one can create gold, fly in the air, or live eternally. Or rather, the new personality can take over one's body and live eternally through it. Mercury, which is less efficiently prepared, cannot bestow immortality, but can cure diseases and increase longevity. Insoluble preparations of mercury and sulfur are widely used in Ayurvedic medicine. Such compounds are byproducts of alchemical experimentation. Immortality is a desirable goal in the context of the Indian belief of reincarnation. If one has a long list of karmic connections to be lived through, it is infinitely more convenient to live through them all in one lifetime rather than to be forced to endure rebirth again and again. Herbs and minerals are only two methods for achieving immortality, however. Another method is practiced by the Aghoras, tantrics who have superseded all ritual limitations. When they find themselves near death, any good yogi will know of his impending death 6 months in advance because his prana or life force begins to flow out of his body. Aghoras deliberately leave their bodies and enter the bodies of corpses, taking them over and making them live for as long as they please until they decide to change bodies again. Most dead personalities cannot move about so freely on their own, and some tantrics worship in graveyards and charnel grounds simply to catch hold of human spirits to force them to perform work. This is also a sort of siddhi. The sort of work possible depends upon the power of the captured personality. This method produces quick results but is dangerous, for a minor error in ritual may result in insanity, death, or worse. Other ethereal beings who never took human form can also be bound by Tantra and their tremendous power harnessed. The most puissant are the deities' personifications of various cosmic forces. The ultimate siddhi is control of Adya, the personification of the entire cosmos. Essential to the production of any siddhi are mantra, yantra, and tantra. In the journey towards siddhi, mantra is the energy which moves your vehicle, the yantra, according to the roadmap, tantra. In an individual analogy, the finished product, siddhi, emerges, the raw material, mantra, is fed into the milling machine, yantra, according to a fixed process, tantra. A mantra is a collection of sounds. When pronounced, their vibrations provide energy to the yantra. Sound appears on the electromagnetic spectrum as one variety of energy which can be manipulated by the tantric. There are three main types of mantra. Descriptive, usually in Sanskrit, these mantras describe either the process undergone, the desired goal, or both. Meaningless, aggregations of sounds which have no known meaning in any human language. Or bijas, individual nasalized symbols. Bija means seed. These seed sounds produce fruit according to the Bijavraksha Nyaya, or the law of seed and tree. The frequent repetition of these bijas eventually result in a sort of standing wave, permanently energizing either an external yantra or some area of the aspirant's brain, resulting in the continuous production of a specific effect, one which is coherent with the personality invoked. 4 types of vani, or speech, exist for the pronunciation of mantra. Let me try to pronounce these. Vaikahari, vocal speech. Madhyama, nasalized speech. Pashanti, purely mental repetition. And para, telepathic speech in which only the intention but not the sound is conveyed. The more subtle the speech, the deeper its effect on both the individual and the surrounding environment. Just as a laser produces single-frequency bija, is selected and is amplified appropriately with the yantra and tantra. The yantra is the crucible in which the herb, mineral, animal, or human is prepared through the mantra's energy. The yantra contains the energy, reflecting it back upon itself until it can accumulate to that point when, as in a laser, it, of its own accord, projects itself. The projection assumes the form of the deity pertaining to the bija repeated. When the mantras other than the bijas are employed, the energy will continue to accumulate until it is used or otherwise discharged. Here in the yantra acts something like a capacitor. Yantras are frequently diagrams drawn on birch barks, crystals, or copper plates, or they can be drawn with powder or sand. Images may be used as yantras, but the best yantra is said to be the human body. Tantras are the 3 main varieties according to the aspirant's capabilities: external, internal, and mixed. Pashu, or animalistic type of aspirants, is by nature greatly attached to the enjoyment of external sense objects, and so should perform external worship to control these urges to outwardness. The divya, or divine type, tends to be introverted and need not be bothered with external rituals. These aspirants require antarigya, internal sacrificial rites. The vira, or heroic type, can perform both external and internal worship competently with thorough attention to detail. Everyday life becomes a sacrificial rite for a vira, with each act an act of worship hidden at all times from the casual observer. For a vira, the entire world is a graveyard filled with the dead. A true tantric regards every human being, including himself, as already dead, since the fact of birth makes death inevitable. For a tantric, and even more so for an Aghori, the entire world is his playground and his temple. Still, rituals which make use of the literal corpses and skulls are available for those who wish to get quick results. Such practices are part of the Vama Marga, or left-hand path, which is the violent counterpart to the Dakshina Marga, or the right-hand path. The Dakshina Marga is meant for those who seek steady progress with reduced danger of setbacks. The Vama Marga is described as Shigra, Ugra, Tivra, the fast, terrible, and intense. On this path, the chances for catastrophe are great unless a powerful guru's protection is provided. The sexual rituals which have made the Tantra notorious are a part of the Vama Marga. The ritual in which sex appears is known as Pancha Amakara. Is actually of 3 types depending again upon the class of the celebrant. And only one type does actual sexual intercourse occur. That version is meant only for tamasic people, tamas being mental inertia or dullness. The intensity of the 5 pancha means 5 articles of worship, meat, fish, parched grain, wine, and sex, overwhelms the dullness of the mind with stimulation. If the aspirant has been properly prepared, this increased mental energy can assist his or her spiritual evolution. An ill-prepared aspirant will be overcome by stimulation and will descend into debauchery. Rajasic people, rajas meaning mental activity, have active minds, which must be properly channeled. They need less stimulation and more control, and use ginger, radish boiled, as opposed to parched grain, coconut milk, and flowers in their pancha makaras. Sattvic people naturally enjoy ample sattva, balance of mind and alertness, and do not require external aids to worship. They utilize the meat of silence, the fish of breath control, the grain of concentration techniques, and the wine of God intoxication, the coitus of one's own ego with the absolute. The Sanskrit terminology used to describe the pancha makara hides this meaning beneath its exterior. For example, fish stands for breath control because one's 2 nostrils are referred to in yogic terminology as rivers since they are continuously flowing. The right is called the Ganga and the left Yamuna. Just as fish swims in rivers, the breath swims through the nostrils, and holding the breath, Kevala, Kumbhakala, is equivalent to eating the fish. Panchamakara is only one of many tantric rituals, but it illustrates a fundamental tantric concept. Bhuta Shuddhi. The physical universe is a permutation of the 5 great elements: earth, water, air, fire, and ether, equivalent respectively to solid, liquid, and gaseous states of matter, heat which transforms matter from one state to another, and the field in which all activity takes place. To achieve universal harmony, these 5 elements must be harmonized. Panchamakara is a fast, intense way to do this. Meat stands for earth, fish for water, wine for fire, grain for air, and sex for ether. When one reaches the stage of balance in which these inputs cause no disequilibrium of consciousness or metabolism, it is much less likely than any other fluctuation in the 5 elements will cause disharmony. And a state of health has been reached, since health is balanced and disease is imbalanced. This health is infinitely more permanent than ordinary health. To deal with only 5 elements, though, essentially in every tantric sadhana, would be too mechanistic, and tantric authorities advocate personification in accompaniment. rather than seek to ex, extirpate their emotions entirely as yogic practitioners do. Tantrics magnify their emotions and transfer them entirely to a deity, a personified cosmic force. All aspirants' natural propensities can spend themselves in this devotee's deity relationship, avoiding suppression of any desires which might erupt later to disrupt the harmony. Thus, Tantra insists there is no mukti, freedom from delusion, without bhukti, enjoyment. Enjoyment refers to the acceptance of all phenomena which may occur to an individual, be they good, enjoyable, or bad, painful. The aspirant relies on the magnanimity of nature, personified as the deity, to protect and provide. Yoga and Vedanta aimed directly at mukti, which was appropriate in earlier ages when the mundane world was less demanding. Tantra is more practical for today's world. Ayurveda is meant for those who desire only bhukti or unrestricted sensory enjoyments. It was promulgated as separate doctrine because many today cannot comprehend health's spiritual aspects. The doctrine of Kundalini and the chakras is associated with that of the 5 great elements. When the elements have been thoroughly purified in an individual, then the Kundalini Shakti, a goddess in her own right, has a path upwards through the chakras to meet and mate with her Shiva in the brain. Each of the 5 lower chakras is the seat of the subtle form of one element, and only when they are purified and harmonized can the Kundalini free herself from their grasp. Herbs can be used to assist in this process, as can mercury. Even disembodied spirits can be useful since they turn the nervous system to the high pitch necessary to withstand the tremendous might of Kundalini, who is the individual equivalent of a cosmic Ajya. Each aspirant's perception of Kundalini will differ according to their innate emotional makeup, and therefore many forms of the goddess are available for worship. Whatever the form, the aspirant must interact with Kundalini on a personal basis. Some treat her as a sister, some as a friend, advisor, or wife. A few regard her as a 16-year-old daughter, and the Aghoris treat her as a servant. But my teacher, Vimalananda, opined that it was best to treat her as a mother, in her aspect as Ajya. She is mother of all worlds and all beings. We emerge from her, exist in her, and eventually dissolve into her again. Moreover, a friend may fail you, a wife may quarrel with you, a servant may rebel against you, but your mother will never desert you. Vimalananda told me, you always sit in the lap of the Divine Mother. Let her do everything for you. Rely on her totally, and she will never forsake you. If you try to do things on your own, you will fail and hurt yourself. Only she can take care of you. The greater your bhakti, devotional love for her, the faster will be your progress. Bhakti is essential because she really is you. You are a minuscule part of her, and you must love yourself to make progress. Even the masculine deities are all a part of her. Whether the tantric aspirant worships a male or female deity depends on the guru, but the outcome will be the same. Kundalini will reunite with her Shiva. First, mantra, yantra, and tantra will be used to create the form of the deity in the aspirant's consciousness. Then the devotee and the deity will be together continuously, observing their stipulated relationship, son, mother, husband, wife, or whatever. This is called tanmayata. Eventually, tadrupta occurs, in which all but a few vestiges of the devotee's original personality are eliminated, and only the deity's personality remains. For the Panchamakara ritual to be successful, a couple who seeks to perform it must first perfect Shiva Lata Mudra, a practice in which all sexual desires are eliminated. The male identifies entirely with Shiva and the female with Shakti. This attitude must be held for 3 hours at a time to ensure success. The Tantras say, Shivo Mbutva Shivam Yajet. First become Shiva, and then you will be able to worship Shiva properly. When this self-identification with the deities is complete, then the consumption of fish, meat, grain, and wine and sexual acts are no longer acts of indulgence, but become sacraments because of the deities themselves partake directly. The mere curious have no business dabbling in Tantra, but some so-called gurus in the West encourage their half-baked followers to do so. Such self-delusive activity reinforces the crystallization of the personality, which prevents spiritual progress. Tantric rituals are sacrificial rites through herbs, minerals, and animals. Though herbs, minerals, and animals are used as offerings, they are secondary to the true offering, the sacrifice of one's own limited self into the sacrificial fires of penance. In the Pancha Makara ritual, the female is the fire into which the male offers semen, just as clarified butter is offered in Orthodox fire worship. Ordinary sex is no sacrifice. When two people come together to copulate, they usually seek gratification for themselves, the slacking of their lust. Perhaps indirectly, they will try to satisfy their partners. Tantric sex becomes possible only when one has totally effaced one's own personality and offers oneself for the gratification of the deity, the universe incarnate. This is one reason Tantra has always been a closely guarded secret. The danger of absolute abusable knowledge falling into the hands of the unworthy has limited its spread. One should never seek to practice classical Tantra without a guru because no Tantric text exists which provide thoroughly accurate details of any ritual. Each text omits an essential step or includes false information, and only through a guru can the reality, handed down from teacher to disciple over generations, be known. Even if pure Tantra is beyond the reach of most Westerners, the Tantric attitude has much to offer. To consider some of the topics already concerned, Western psychology can learn much from the Tantric concepts of personality and ego. The concept of the individual constitution, not merely in the Ayurvedic sense of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, but also the mental constitution of Sattva, Divya, Rajas, Vira, and Tamas, Pashu, suggests that people can be categorized according to what sort of approach will suit their temperament and would therefore be more likely to work. Tantric herbal and mineral preparations are part of Ayurveda and can be evaluated for their efficacy. The whole physiology of sound and light can be revolutionized by examination of mantra and visualization. Some of these tantric attitudes are already being employed in the West, perhaps unknowingly. For example, cancer patients are sometimes instructed to visualize to encourage remission. One such visualization might be a school of piranhas devouring the dead meat of the tumor mass. This is tantric in nature, the sacrifice of an undesirable personality, the cancer, to an objectified projection of nature, the piranha. Such visualizations are often effective, but because they are inherently combative, they are not useful for promoting health, which is non-aggressive, as they may be for cure. Tantra can suggest a new and better visualization. Tantra can suggest new and better visualizations which could positively increase the individual's stamina, vigor, and happiness while simultaneously eliminating the disease. Visualizations can also be extended to other autoimmune diseases besides cancer, since autoimmune diseases occur when the ego loses its ability to distinguish what is part of its own organism and what is alien to it. Psychologically, this process is already being used in neuro-linguistic programming. Undesirable habits or personality quirks can be altered thereby without analysis, guilt, or trauma, and new traits can be added. Because there is no limit for self-improvement, Tantra can be repeatedly employed to assist in adjustments. For those who are already relatively healthy, Tantra can create deeper levels of harmony and health. Immortality can be generally unobtainable, but a long, healthy life is not, for which good immunity is required. In Sanskrit, immunity is vyadikshamatva, which literally means forgiveness of the disease. By improper lifestyle and attitudes, we create conditions in our bodies and minds which are agreeable to certain beings, which accept our unspoken invitations and move in. Most of us despise the disease without realizing that we have invited it into ourselves. When one learns to forgive oneself and forgive the disease, its depredations, then the disease's return is effectively barred. Unfortunately, even the tantric attitude can be dangerous. As one accumulates power, the ego will balloon out unless the personality is continuously incinerated simultaneously. Hence, Tantra's insistence that the power be objectified and personified. Since tantric ritual can be used to create emotions which did not previously exist, perhaps adoptions of the tantric attitude can prove therapeutic for many of those today who suffer from emotional paralysis. Hence, Vimalananda's insistence on the greatness of motherly love. From the strictly spiritual point of view, a study of true Tantra would provide Westerners a proper perspective with which to consider their own spiritual practices. For example, they might begin to regard Kundalini with greater respect after learning of the effects of her complete awakening, or consider the millions who repeat mantras daily. Most are ignorant of the requirements of mantra siddhi, and so will repeat the mantra sincerely for years with very little result. Whereas, with a little attention to tantric teachings, they could make quick progress by learning such things as the location in the vocal apparatus where the mantras should be recited along with its proper pronunciation, the process of bhuta-siddhi, and the practice of nyasa, which prepares the body and mind to act as a fit receptacle for the deity. The dhyana-vidhi, or specific visualization appropriate to the mantra. The 5 great restrictions, which are reciting the mantra daily, the same number of times, the same place, the same time, with the same offering, while observing strict sexual continence during whatever period is set aside for the purpose. The total number of repetitions required, which differs for each mantra, is 100,000, often cited. For each mantra, 100,000 is often cited, plus the appropriate number and variety of offerings to the 5 great elements. Though Tantra may sometimes seem hopelessly complex and impractical, one is unavoidably filled with awe at the amazing thoroughness and attention to detail which the ancient sages showed while promulgating this science. Even if it cannot be instantly commercialized or otherwise exploited in some mundane fashion, surely Tantra deserves appreciation for its very existence. The greatest benefit of the study of Tantra and Aghora is perhaps an enhanced appreciation for motherliness. The doctor who cannot take a motherly attitude towards his patients is a mere pill pusher. My teacher insisted that all males should learn motherly love. Tantra is the worship of the mother. It is the most advanced method for inculcating maternal feelings. It is undeniable that you look to the world, so the world will look to you. If the world is your mother and all of its inhabitants are your family, there is never a need for loneliness, fear, or despair. As my teacher, Vimalananda, observed frequently, when speaking of the mother, what more does one need to do once the mother has accepted him? She will do everything without being asked. She is the being to be realized.